Hi, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since I've made any videos, and so I'm making a new one. And the reason, by the way, I haven't made any videos in a while, one of them is that I relocated to a different place, and there's also certain other things going on in my life. But I have continued solving puzzles. I just haven't had a chance to make any videos, and also I had sold my old camera and microphone, and this is a new webcam I'm trying out, so we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, so let's get started. So I'm going to show in this video my current puzzle collection, which has 37 puzzles, and it's different. Part of it is different than what it was the last time I made a video, and I'm going to sort them in order of difficulty, starting from 1 to 37, with 1 being the easiest. And the reason you're seeing this puzzle here is because this one is the easiest puzzle in my collection. So let's begin. So this is number 1. This is the Ivy cube, also known as the monocular cube, and regarded by some to be the cubic shape mod of a pyraminx. And as you can see, it turns like this. It swaps these pedals, and I would say it's actually easier than a pyraminx, and in my personal opinion. And yeah, so this is number 1. Number 2, in terms of, whoops, dropped that one, but fortunately it didn't break. Number 2 is this one, the Dino cube, and this is a corner turning puzzle. As such, very easy to solve, no algorithms needed, pretty intuitive. So this is number 2. Number 3 is going to be this one right here, which is the Ready cube, and this is also a corner turning puzzle, except that it has these edges that you can swap out, which makes it slightly more difficult than the Dino cube. Doesn't really need any algorithms, fairly easy to solve, very fun puzzle. Number 4 is going to be this one right here, which is a 2x2x3 cuboid. Also very easy to solve, easier to solve than a 2x2 cube. And basically you solve the middle layer, you solve one of the top or bottom layers, and you only need one algorithm to cycle the pieces on the last layer. So this is number 4. Number 5 is going to be this one right here, Cube. And I would say this is slightly more difficult than the other puzzles in my personal opinion. Because of the deep turns, it kind of shifts your perspective on how to solve it. Even though all of the moves are basically up, up, down, down, it's not too difficult to solve once you wrap your head around it. Next is going to be number 6, which is this one of my few stickered puzzles. It's a 2x2 shape mod, which is a dodecahedron, and you can see it's basically a regular 2x2, and you just solve it based on colors. You get the 2 pinks together, you get the 2 yellows, so on and so forth. On the last layer you need the 2x2 algorithms, and it's fairly easy to solve. So that was number 6. Number 7 is going to be this one, which is a relatively new puzzle that recently got released, the pedal pyraminx. And this actually stumped me at first when I first got it. I tried solving it by solving the corners and the edges as a pyraminx and then doing the circles, and I always had pieces that needed to be swapped until I figured out the solution, which is first you need to reduce these thin pedals to the corners, orient the corners on one face, like you could see yellow, 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 cycle in the edges with down, down, up, up, reduce the edges, kick them out, keep doing that until all edges are reduced, and then solve it as a pyraminx. So this is number 7 in terms of difficulty. Number 8 is going to be this guy right here, which is a 2x3x3 cuboid. Basically it's not too difficult, and one of the difficulties here is that you need to know the color scheme, because there are no centers in this middle layer, and there's certain algorithms you need for the top layer, but otherwise it's a fairly simple solve. But I would categorize this as number 8 in terms of difficulty from the puzzles in my collection. Number 9 is going to be this Readyminx, and this is kind of similar to a Ready cube. I would actually say it's more similar to a curvy Dino cube, because it has these centers, which a Readyminx does not have, and the curvy Dino cube does have. So yeah, it turns, you can see, like this, fairly simple to solve. It's more tricky than I expected, especially with the last layer, but once you wrap your head around it, it's not too difficult. So that was number 9. Number 10 is going to be our very famous 3x3 cube, which is basically a standard 3x3 cube, and I would categorize this as number 10. The reason for that is it's a whole bunch of algorithms and 7 steps for the beginner method. Then you could use F2L method and all sorts of other things, and so this is number 10. Number 11 is going to be this guy, 3x3 apple. I would actually say, for me personally, this is easier than a 3x3 cube, because the corners and edges on the bottom, top and bottom layers, if you can see, if you turn it, it remains solved. And so that makes it easier. However, it is a shape mod, and it forces you to bend your perspective when solving it. So in that sense, you do need to know how to solve a 3x3 cube before proceeding with this. But once you could solve a 3x3, this is actually easier in my opinion. Nevertheless, I categorize it as number 11 in my collection. Number 12 would be this guy right here, square one. This one basically makes 180-degree turns on this layer, and smaller turns here on the top layer. Not too difficult to solve. Could be a little difficult to wrap your head around it at first, but it's a lot of fun. I personally really enjoyed this puzzle as well. And so this is going to be number 12. Number 13 is this guy right here, Fisher cube, 3x3 Fisher cube. This one is one of the easier 3x3 shape mods, and the reason for that is the top and bottom centers don't have any orientation, and so it's technically partially a super cube because the middle centers do have orientation, and it shape shifts and it forces you to skew your perspective to solve it. And so I would say this is number 13 in my collection. Sorry about that. And so proceeding with number this is number 14, is going to be the mirror cube, which is a 3x3 mirror cube, also known as the bump cube. And basically each face has a different depth. And once you know how to solve it, it's not too difficult, but it does force you to skew your perspective and everything. So this is going to be number 14. Next is number 15. It's going to be this guy right here, which is the Mega Minx, and this is the MF8 Mega Minx, the big one that's 90 millimeters, and it's a bit stiff, and it works well for me. I'm not a speed cube or anything like that, so I really like this puzzle. Yeah, it adds a bit of a challenge to a regular 3x3, especially with the last layer, but once you understand how the pieces cycle, it's not too difficult to solve. So yeah, this one is going to be number 15. Number 16 is going to be this guy right here, 4x4 cube. You get the parities with it, and the flipped edge, the swapped corners. Also, you need to know the center orientation. And then next one is going to be this guy, which is number 17, a 5x5. Has certain other difficulty. You get a parity of the two edges that are swapped, and you have the centers and everything. So this is going to be 17. And as you probably guess, 18 is going to be a 6x6 cube, which combines the difficulty of the 4x4 and the 5x5. And this is actually the biggest cube I have in my collection at the moment. I've had a 7x7 and 8x8 in the past, but right now I only have a 6x6 as my biggest cube. Number 19 is going to be this guy right here, which is the 3x3 axis cube. And yeah, this is fully a super cube, and each center has orientation. Also really skews your perspective once you start mixing it up, and quite difficult to solve. For me, I've solved it so many times that I know I could solve it easily by now, but it took a while to get used to it. So yeah, where did I take it from? 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so that was number 19. Number 20 is going to be this guy right here, which is the Fisher Skew. And I would say this one is a bit more challenging in the sense because it turns on 4 axes rather than just 3. So once you start mixing it up, it really bends your perspective a lot. And yeah, so this is going to be number 20. Number 21 is going to be this guy right here, which is the rhombic dodecahedron cube. And I would say this one is a bit more difficult than the Fisher's cube. Because of its shape and everything, it really bends your perspective, and sometimes you can end up making a wrong move and mess everything up. Also, every center has orientation. And yeah, so this is going to be number 21. Number 22 is going to be this guy right here, which is the Tangram Extreme. A regular Tangram cube is basically a cubic shape mod of a face-turning pentahedron, and in this case it has the added cuts which allow it to shapeshift like that. And yeah, the solve itself is not too difficult. What's difficult is that it really bends your perspective, understanding what it is and getting used to it. And yeah, so I would categorize this as number 22 in my collection. And next is going to be number 23, which is this guy right here, which is the F's cube. Some people call this a Dino's cube. It's actually not a Dino's cube. A Dino's cube has all Dino moves and all cube moves on all 8 corners. In this case, 4 corners have Dino cuts, 4 opposite corners have cube cuts. Has a unique strategy how to solve it. Quite challenging at first to figure it out. But once you know what to do, it's not extremely difficult. A lot of fun. Next one is going to be number 24, which is the first of the bandaged cubes. The easiest of the bandaged cubes in my opinion, where you have this one big piece here that's bandaged. And the way I solve it, I put in the edges on the first layer. I use F2L to put in the edge corner duos and solve the top layer using slightly different method than I would on a beginner cube, beginner's method. So yeah, that's number 24. Number 25 is going to be this guy right here, which is the 3x3 ghost cube. And the most difficult part of it, in my opinion, is in addition to the perspective bending, is solving the middle layer. You need to improvise on that. You could also get some false equivocations where 2 edges appear to be swapped or 2 corners, but once you really get used to the cube and see the subtleties of the pieces, you could avoid that. And yeah, so this is going to be number 25. Number 26 is going to be this guy, 2x3x4 brick cuboid. And yeah, this has all sorts of parodies and unique situations, and once you know what to do, it's fairly straightforward, but it's a lot of algorithms and stuff to memorize and what to do and everything. And yeah, really fun solve though. Then number 27 is going to be this guy right here, which is the unicorn cube, which has regular 3x3 moves. In addition to that, it also has these Dino moves right here. And yeah, it makes for a unique, challenging solve, especially the first few times you solve it. Plus you could get sort of like a parody situation where a single corner is flipped, and it's not too difficult to fix once you know what to do. But yeah, it's quite a nice challenge. So this is number 27. Number 28 is going to be this guy right here, the pentacle cube, and I'm specifically referring to the stickerless version. I do not have the stickered one, and the reason I would categorize this as so difficult, if you look right here, if I turn it, the inner edges, they have color as well, so you have to solve it fully as a 3x3. The difference is that between every single move of every single algorithm, you have to turn 3 or 4 of these pentacle circles, which could easily make you lose your perspective. So this is number 28. Number 29 is going to be this guy right here, which is the 3x4x5 brick cuboid. It takes it up a level from the 2x3x4, all the kinds of parodies and situations that you could imagine, but it's a lot of fun to solve. Okay, so that was number 29. Okay, one more take with starting from number 30, which is the 4x4 axis cube. The camera was just getting out of focus, so I had to fix that up. So yeah, this is the 4x4 axis cube, and this is number 30, and it has all the parodies of a 4x4, plus it really bends your perspective. All the centers are supercube centers. Very challenging solve. I've solved it many times, so for me it's fairly straightforward, but once you're getting started with this, it's definitely quite the challenge. Next is going to be number 31, which is this guy right here, which is the bandage cube version B. Some people might consider this to be the most difficult one, but of the bandage cubes, and I would say it's not the most difficult one because of the limited amount of turns it has, because so many pieces are bandaged. And but it is really tough to wrap your head around, and once you get to the top layer, there's a certain algorithm. It's not too difficult. There's also another algorithm for the bottom layer to do a 5 cycle, and so yeah, it's not the most difficult, I would say, but it is definitely very difficult to solve. So next one, so that was number 31. Now number 32 is going to be this bandage cube version C. In my opinion, this is the most difficult bandage cube. It has this piece right here that's bandaged, this one right here, and this one right here, and it really forces you to think a lot and do all kinds of setup moves and everything. It's a very, very tough challenge. I've solved this one time so far, and I had to use online tutorials. A very challenging solve. Number 33 is going to be this guy right here, which is a Sun Mum cube. And for those who don't know, basically if you turn it like this, 45 degrees, you can then make these kind of turns, and it really scrambles it up, bends your perspective, and yeah, it's really tough to figure out at first, but once you solve it enough times, then it's a fairly straightforward solve. Really fun puzzle. And next one on my list is going to be this guy right here, which is number 34, and this is the Curvy Copter 3. Really deep turns like this, and I would say the last edges are very tough, at least for me personally, to figure out how to properly cycle them. Oftentimes I have to do a lot of trial and error, and then these final pieces right here, the small ones, sometimes you have to do 3, 4, or even 5 setup moves in the end to place them, and you could easily lose your place if you're not focused. So that's number 34. Number 35 is this guy, which I have actually not yet solved, which is the Crazy Tetrahedron Mars version, which means 2 of the faces are fixed, 2 circles are fixed, and 2 of them move. And yeah, I've been trying and trying. So far I haven't really figured out a clear method to solving it. I'm still working on that. So, and number 36 would be this guy right here, which is a Schwang-Fei Yan cube, also known as the Dayan 16-axis cube, and this is basically a cubic shape mod of a truncated track tetrahedron. You can see it has these coordinate turns which turn in increments of 60 degrees, and it also has these kind of edge type of turns as well, and it has a bunch of illegal moves that basically you could see the edges. Here's like thin parts to it, and then there's thick parts out here, and if you turn the wrong edge matched up to a wrong edge, you could force the move, but it's going to break the puzzle and make it impossible to solve. So you have to look out for those illegal moves, and that's part of what makes it so difficult. And lastly, my most difficult puzzle in my collection at the moment is this guy right here, which is Virgo's Pentagram, and this is basically a deep cut corner turning dodecahedron. As you can see, turns like this, and if I start making more turns, it's gonna get very, very scrambled up. And you could also do shape-shifting moves with this as well. Like if I do it like this, you could see it does shape-shifting. And yeah, so what this is basically a dodecahedral shape mod of Aten Star, which is a 20-sided icosahedron deep cut face turning puzzle. And this, I believe, is even more difficult, even though I've never solved Aten Star, I've never had it. But the reason I think it's more difficult is because these pieces, on Aten Star it has 1 color, here it has 3 colors, and you can end up with a parity situation, which I actually had when I was solving it, where one single corner is flipped, and you have to do a whole bunch of moves and a long algorithm to fix it. When I tried fixing it, it messed up half my cube, half the puzzle, and I had to redo it. And fortunately, once I solved it, it was fixed. But I did find an algorithm that should be able to fix this. I haven't actually tried it out yet. So yeah, this is the most difficult puzzle in my collection. And yeah, so that's about it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.